What's up, everybody? Welcome to Strength Solutions Podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Hit the subscribe, like, and put us on your notifications. Our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. We have free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Email strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, Strength Solutions Podcast. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
All right, dude. So I talk to a lot of people about like nutrition and food. And I think the first thing people need to focus on is eat first really well.
Okay.
Before anything else. And what does that look like? That means getting enough protein for yourself. That means making sure you're not over consuming calories. Making sure you're not under consuming calories.
That too.
According to your workout load. Right. And I say according to your workout load because if I'm very active, I need a lot more calories than I think.
Right.
And so what does that look like? So for the average individual, you usually try to get most of your clients to aim for about 8 grams of protein per pound of body weight.
0.8.
Or to 0.8, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, if they fall below and they hit 0.6, they're still in the essential place.
Right. The RDA.
Right. And I'll tell people it makes a huge difference. So when I work out and I get enough protein, I don't have these aches and pains that I do when I go lower calorie and I don't hit the protein mark.
Right. You can totally tell the difference in how well you recover, soreness, like joint aches and things like that.
Yeah. So protein is vital. And not only that, protein is responsible for a lot of chemical reactions within the body.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do not think about that. And that makes you more efficient. That makes you think really well. That makes you move better. When you're full, you're more likely to get better sleep. And it just adds all the way through. Now, as far as carbohydrates and fats, you just got to hit your essential fat amount.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy if you eat red meat to hit that, right? Where the fat content goes bad, and this is where you may need supplementation, is where you don't eat really grass-fed or you don't eat enough fish, you're not going to get enough omega-3s.
Right.
And so this would be a supplement that we would recommend to help with that problem.
I take a fish oil supplement. I don't know if you do, but yeah, I take
all
it
day, every day.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like a subtle difference. But yeah, I mean, at least I think in the diet here in Texas, like there's not a whole bunch of fish going around, seafood, you know, so.
Unless it's fried. Catfish fried. Yeah.
So you miss out on it, you know?
Yeah. And I think there's studies around this where they've introduced omega-3s to like prisons and they mentally feel better. They move better. They're happier people. And your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio really is what matters.
Super
that,
important
right?
too, yeah.
And it's less inflammatory, anti-inflammatory. So you're more likely to feel better. Think about having inflammation around nerves or different parts of your body, how your body aches. You just get irritated.
Right.
And psychologically, it kind of affects you. Now, as far as carbohydrates go, this is where understanding how much am I working out and how much am I outputting. When do I have my carbs? Now, if you're just learning how to eat, it's just about balance it throughout. Just don't eat too many carbs.
Right.
Now, if you get better, you kind of program your carbs like either before your workout, like an hour or two, or post-workout to help facilitate recovery. And the last part is I'm more of a backloader because I have to be cognitively fresh and good. So I tend to eat my carbs later in the day. So that way my body can relax for when I sleep.
You know, what's funny is I was having a conversation with a client the other day and we were talking about foods and how to get more protein in the morning. And so we were talking about like breakfast foods, right?
Fish.
And yeah. And so many like traditional breakfast foods are so high in carbohydrates, right? Like breads, grains, right? Oatmeal, things like that. There's very little traditionally, right, that aren't like that. And my client was telling me that she eats a lot of things like that, like, and that she finds that she's really hungry later on, like not like there's not a long enough time between her meals. She's feeling really hungry right after breakfast, even though she ate a lot. And I was like, well, you're eating carbohydrates in the morning and your body's just really good at metabolizing that. And it's going to metabolize it super, super fast. And so you're not having enough it may seem like you're having a lot of food, but it's just not going to last you long enough.
It's like when people are like, well, I was told to eat oatmeal in the morning, right?
Right.
Well, if I'm bulking up, like, and I'm trying to like gain mass, oatmeal is really good. But if I'm trying to cut weight, oatmeal doesn't fill you up long enough.
Yeah. And even though, there's health benefits to it and everything like that. And yeah, it is a healthier choice than other things. But looking at it from this perspective, it's really trying to manage those ratios of things. And if you find that you are eating a high carbohydrate morning meal, right, then try to adjust some of those things. Or, hey, if you are going to have the oatmeal, maybe you add in like a protein supplement, right, powder or something like that to it. But those are some of the things that you kind of got to look at.
Well, you just mentioned protein powder. Like that's another supplement we highly recommend because most people don't even reach that target of 0.8 that we try to get. And they're like at 0.4. And it's just a quick way to get to 0.6, just to the essential amount. I remember one time there was these girls talking and they were like, oh, my nails look better. It's because I'm taking this protein supplement. And I was like, it's just because you're getting an essential amount of protein.
Yeah,
right?
It's not so much about...
Think about your nails and hair. Protein's vital. And it's just getting to that point. Another supplement that I highly recommend to people is creatine.
Right.
So especially in the vegan community, creatine's hard to find. And typically you'll see cognitive benefits with creatine for that amount. And for people who already eat meat, you'll see muscle benefits. But they're starting to do research and there's mega doses. And everybody's dose dependent differently. So I've got myself up to about 7 to 8 grams of creatine.
Okay.
And my body can't digest anymore. I feel inflamed and tired. I feel like my gut has an issue. And that's probably where I'm about at.
I was reading a
post.
Yeah. I was reading a post the other day and they were talking about a research study that was just done where they were giving people like mega doses of creatine who were suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, those types of things. They were giving them like 20 grams a day, like, so quite a bit. But it kind of makes sense because those people will have like a way to use that much creatine, right? Whereas maybe other people, not quite as much. But they showed that they had some pretty good like cognitive benefits. They were a little bit better at remembering things, on tests that they were doing. Now it's not like it's a cure or anything like that, right? But it's just to go to show like one of the other benefits of it outside of just muscle building and things like that. And I think that that's something that we also have to look at a lot of the time.
Yeah, and sometimes supplements are good in the sense of, let's say if you're feeling numbness or you're tired or fatigued, sometimes you may need a B12 or a vitamin D, and you're feeling like your joints are aching. And so those are a couple other vitamins that I kind of recommend for people because not enough people get sun.
No.
And vitamin B12 is a water-soluble vitamin. So you can only have so much of that vitamin and then it leaves your body, right? So if I drink a lot of water, it's leaving my body. So B and C are kind of like that, right? So you need abundance over time. Yeah. Not too much. You don't want to overdose, right? Overdose. It's not going to happen. But it'll keep on leaving your body as you piss out, right?
Yeah.
Where A, D, E, and K are fat soluble.
Right.
And so they're actually storing your fat. So after you get a certain amount of vitamin D, let's just say I'm taking like the vitamin D supplement, you can have too much at a certain point. And so D and K have to kind of balance out. And so that's where testing and will help out tremendously.
Right.
So, mainstream media is catching up.
I've seen
deadlifting to fix your back.
They caught on.
They caught on.
Exposed us.
They fixed the back.
Yeah. It's funny. I just got a new client the other day and we were talking and stuff and she had been in an accident with cheerleading.
Oh, wow.
And she actually broke a section of her back after an accident happened and things like that. And we were sort of talking and stuff. And I was like, okay, is there anything that bothers you? Like things that you do, et cetera, stuff like that. She was like, well, I really haven't deadlifted in a long time outside of using a trap bar. And I was like, okay, does that bother you? And she was like, no, it feels okay. I was like, well, let's try to do like an RDL today with dumbbells, and see how that goes. And everything worked pretty well. And she was like, I noticed that it really only bothers me when I'm like not focused. When I'm not in the exercise, right? When I'm not paying attention and maybe I'm not using my core as much. Or I was really trying to focus on telling her to use her glutes and squeeze and push forward and how to think about the deadlift, as opposed to being up and down, more like a horizontal plane, right? And she did well. There was no back pain, nothing like that. And it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, you've had a back injury. Our goal then is like, you got to be able to do a deadlift well, like at some point, depending on how severe that injury was. That's the main thing, right? Like that's the one thing that'll help it so much.
And it's not that the deadlift really fixes the pain. What it's really fixing the pain is that your body is moving together.
Right.
what happens is when a lot of people deadlift is either the upper body comes first or lower body comes first. And now you're at a joint angle that is a higher risk of injury.
Right.
Now, I will never say the words like there's only one way to lift, right?
Sure.
And stuff like that. You can have a curved spine where you deadlift. You can have a straight spine. Some of the best deadlifters actually have a curved spine. They keep it curved as they deadlift. And it's one of those things, it just helps teach you to be strong in one lift vertically.
Yeah.
Now, where it falls short is on the transverse plane.
For sure.
But a lot of people don't even have frontal plane or sagittal plane strength.
Yeah, so it's like we gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, so it usually is a good place to start. And sometimes I advance them to do things that are more in the transverse plane eventually, because their core can be stiff in that front plane and sagittal plane. Now you can able twist and use the core a little bit better because now it's stiff in the right positions.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the thing is, it's not so much like the deadlift itself is like this miracle exercise. It's teaching your body all those things, learning how to use your core, learning how to use the glutes to stabilize and protect the lower back and spine. And I think those are the things that people need to pay attention to whenever they have back pain, right? And not stray away from it. Like if you do have back pain, hey, start strengthening your glutes, start strengthening your core, because those things are going to be things that are going to help you long term. And you know, the deadlift just sort of like puts all of those together.
Wow. Nailed it.
Oh my God.
Nailed it. So would you, if you were in school today, would you use ChatGPT?
Yeah, probably.
So there's been professors talking online, and it was the ChatGPT like group, and they're talking about how teaching is so hard today because they don't know if their students really learn anything.
Yeah.
And I actually think this is a positive thing. I think too many times we've make students take things home instead of doing them in front of us. And do they really understand the concept? Because I think it's a good way for education to go back into like being in person
and applicable
and applying it. Right. And now back then, even when we wrote papers, we could get all these things. Do I really understand it because I wrote a really good paper?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
I mean, like, look, dude, even before ChatGPT, you know, there's been online classes and people are finding shit out. Right? You go on YouTube or you look this up, or there's whole websites that you could hire people to write your paper for you and shit like that. So it's like,
it's good. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I think it teaches people like, do you really know the material or not?
This is not really something new. Maybe it's like more easy, right, to like access or more accessible to everyone. But the fact of the matter is that this is not a foreign idea or thing that's happened, right? And so like you said, it really would move everything more toward like the in-person applying things, practical type of learning. Because I mean, I don't do well in online classes ever. I've never done well in an online class. Yeah.
I physically got to be there, sit in the front row.
Yeah, dude, for real. Yeah. And it's like, that's just how I learn now. I understand maybe some people can do an online class, but I really think that there is something to being in person, being there, being tested, right? And actually knowing the skills and information as opposed to just looking at that.
Yeah. And then people have gotten real good at regurgitation, like of facts. And that's like, oh, well, they must know it because they know the fact. They know what the fact says, but they don't know what the fact applies, right? And so I think a lot of times people don't realize you could be really smart and understand all these facts. It doesn't mean you know how to apply, right?
Right.
And I just think a lot of times people who have really high IQs, they understand a lot, but it doesn't mean they know how to apply it, right?
Yeah.
And we see it in our space all the time, right? So people are talking about joint angles, how to move. Well, how do I apply it with the average individual, and how do I talk to their levels? Or like doctors, when they're so intelligent, they're telling like a patient, it's the anterior
whatever
clavicle, whatever, whatever. I just can't think of it right now. An epicondylile, and the average person doesn't know what you mean. Just say like, oh, it's in the groove of the knee or something like that, right? Like it's right there. It's learning how to communicate. And I think that's the thing too, is like we've lost that capability because we're trying to sound smart. And I think we've lost that capability of just talking to the average individual.
Yeah. And the education system here in America, at least, has definitely become a lot more of like just getting information, learning it, memorizing it, right? And then just going back and reciting it to whatever the test is or person or
That's
thing.
what I do.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. People ask me a question, I just say, just Don't even ask me. Just go chat GPT.
So I know we talked about food at the beginning, and this doctor was talking about beef tallow, and they're just like, you should have beef tallow instead of seed oils. And we talked about how you eat first versus, oh, this is good or bad for you, right? So he showed how much like beef tallow calories for whatever it was. And I was just like, that's just as much as the seed oil. And then this person is still over consuming calories. They're not going to get any better benefits.
Yeah. And it's like, I guess the idea is that it's like, I don't know, what is the idea here? Like, is it more natural? Is it less
That's what
processed?
they say, right?
But I'm like, okay, if you're processing out tallow, right, which is essentially like, I guess we just call it fat, right? Like that's what we're doing. It's like, okay, what makes it different than butter or any other type of oil or fat based
it's
thing?
how much you put on it. It's how much you use. It's all calorie driven. Like law of thermodynamics is number one.
Yeah.
After that, then you start getting into a little bit pickier. But if you don't take care of the law of thermodynamics, it's never going to happen. I mean, we've done studies about the gas station diet where they eat donuts and they still lose weight. People have eaten McDonald's and lost weight. Doesn't mean they feel good.
No.
But the law of thermodynamics is number one.
Right.
After that, then we talk about nutrition a little bit more.
And if we're just talking about it in terms of weight loss and things like that, I mean, it's almost, it doesn't matter, right? You could do beef tallow, butter, fucking
seed oils, olive oil, any type of thing.
Anything. Yeah. It's just going to depend on how much you use of it and how.
I just think it's crazy that we skip the first step a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're skipping the basics of like.
I think it's because people think
it's boring.
I don't know if it's boring.
Or they want an excuse.
I think they want an excuse, and I think they think it's more complicated than it is. And so it couldn't possibly be that simple.
Don't you feel like that's how it feels about like working out too?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the video I showed you of the guy in the squat rack with bands, and this girl has one band on the back of her leg, and then like she's balancing on the other band, trying to do a lunge with a barbell on her back.
And it's like, why is she doing this? You know, like
working out doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, what benefit does this have over just doing a normal walking lunge or a stationary lunge or a reverse lunge or anything else? Like, why would you put somebody in that sort of situation? Remember one of the comments was like, this guy needs to go to prison.
I mean, dude, like you have this lady squatting 2 bands. What if one of those bands snap?
Yeah, dude. And then now she's horribly injured, right? Or something. And I don't know, man. I think that people just overcomplicate it. They don't understand that it could be that simple. And so whenever you say something like, oh, just eat less butter, you know, they're like, no, it's because butter is bad. It has to be something else. There needs to be some, outside source or a different.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's like foods like I can't have corn.
Yeah.
Like individually. But there's not this big group of things that people are like, I just can't have it.
Right. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's weird.
It makes me think about like lifting and talking to people and about the deadlift. And the deadlift is fixing back pain. It's not really that it's fixing back pain. Again, it's just a simple lift to make sure you're working your whole body.
Right.
The squat does the same thing. Now you're adding your ankles into it and your thoracic spine a little bit more and how if you twist and counterbalance. Same thing with the overhead press. Now you're adding the thoracic spine and shoulder. The core has to be stable. And they're just basic lifts that just teach you how to use your whole body together.
Right.
And I think that's the missing piece for a lot of people is how do I communicate from top to bottom?
Get to the basics.
And I sent you this video of this male cheerleader with this female cheerleader. And this male cheerleader was a little overweight, right?
He's a big guy.
Big guy. But man, he killed it on that stability, bro.
Dude,
like to hold a woman up in the air and just like, dude, I would have broke my shoulder. And that girl was doing crazy spins. He would catch her, taking her momentum away from her.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man.
Single-handed.
Yes.
Like grabbing her feet and moving her and things like that. I just learned from my cheerleader, this is called stunting. Stunting, yeah.
Oh, did you show her the video?
No, I should have. Damn.
Yeah. So show her the video, dude.
Yeah, and so it's like those base, people in the cheerleading team who do the stunting, right? Who do like the pushing and the flipping and the catching and things like that. Like, dude, I mean, while the flipping and all the other stuff is also athletically, intense and crazy to do. I think we don't look at the other half, the people who are catching, the people who are stabilizing, the people who are balancing above their head. Okay, I mean,
remember when we were doing the rings with your friend?
Yeah.
And she was like telling me that would be good as the, what was it called? The guy who stabilizes them.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's just, nobody takes the account. They see the girl laying across, but the amount of work I had to do while she was like there
Yeah,
and I was
dude.
holding her
Yeah.
was crazy.
It's insane. Yeah. And the fact is that if anybody had ever worked out and you've ever done an overhead press with dumbbells or a barbell or something, you would know how hard it is to hold any sort of weight above your head, right? And then to have like ballistic movement above your head, someone flipping, landing, pinpoint accuracy,
yes.
right?
This is so cool to see. Right?
Yeah, dude, it's insane. And I don't think that we look at like the athleticism in that way, you know, like I don't think people see that as being athletic, you know, like I think you see a big dude at the bottom and you're just like, well, he's just catching because he's big. You know, and it's like, no, man, you don't understand. Like that guy,
he probably works out really hard.
He's probably doing just as much work as they are, you know, in a different way, of course. But I think we got to just look at it a little.
We got to appreciate like different styles of training. We got to appreciate how people move differently. You know, like I don't have the traditional explosive strength, but I can hold shit.
Oh yeah.
You know,
like the static movements. Yeah.
It's just amazing to me to see that stuff. And it's amazing for me to see when animals mess with each other.
Okay, what is this one?
Dude, I sent you this one, bro.
Birds mess with
Dude,
dogs.
so there was like a bird and there's a dog turned around and all of a sudden it took his beak and like poked it in his balls and then like turned around and the dog looks back and was like, what happened? And then there was like multiple videos of different birds messing with different dogs and the dogs are always like, they can't believe it's the bird doing it.
Animals are super intelligent, man. I mean, like even just hanging out with the cats that we have at home, like I'm like, dude, our cat can straight up go and like he knows where the treats are. He knows, like he can remember where they're at. He can go into it, open up the cabinet door, go in there, push them out, and like open it up and like get them.
Shut up.
It's insane.
You have to like lock it like a child lock.
Yeah, for real. Or we gotta like secret, like we gotta be like, throw him over there. We gotta put him somewhere else because he'll know and he'll get to it. And it's not like we trained him, right? He's just intelligent enough to just go and do that.
Why do we feel like we treat other animals like they're dumb?
I don't know, dude. Those two, I'm like, nah. I don't like it, man. They're too intelligent. I'm like living with another person, dude.
Man, it's wild.
I swear they have consciousness.
They do have consciousness. So before we go on our studies, what is one trait you like to see in a human?
One trait I like to see in a human. I like determination.
Determination.
Yeah.
Really? What do you like about seeing determination in somebody when somebody goes through?
I think, you know, like thinking about clients and things like that, the clients that show the most determination, right, and discipline, I don't want to say motivation, not motivation, but discipline and determination, like, man, that just hypes me up so much because I know that whatever they're doing is hard. I know that they probably don't want to be doing it. I know they're probably frustrated, angry. They probably have so many feelings about trying to lose weight or get healthy or whatever it is. And they're still there showing up and doing it every single time. I think that just shows so much more than just determination. Like it's
overcoming obstacles.
It overcomes obstacles. The ability to like work when you are tired or sad or any of those things, like prioritizing the responsibility, the accountability. I don't know. It's just so many things that you can tell in a person when they have that. And I really, really appreciate it. And that is something that like really makes me feel like I'm like, you're going to be a good client and you're probably going to reach your goals.
My number one thing is humble. And the reason being is a lot of people are not humble.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they have all the answers. And there's times I'm wrong and I'll admit I'm wrong. And I'll tell Amanda I'm wrong. Like,
yeah, you got
it's one of those things I think people are missing. Or you can ask me a question about fitness. If I don't know the answer, I'll say, I think it's this, but I will look it up, then I'll do this.
And we'll come back.
And a lot of trainers don't do that. Or even doctors. And the fact that we answer things with certainty. I had a conversation with a client. She's like, all our professions are statistically just guesses. Even our profession, doctors' professions, they're never 100%, but they act with a bunch of certainty. And so being humble enough to be like, look, you got 70% chance that this happens with the drug to this happen can make a difference for an individual in the way they think.
Yeah.
And giving somebody like false hope too can give people issues. So being humble and understanding that you don't know everything, or like if I was like on a different podcast show and they're asking me a question, just something random about cars. I don't know a lot about cars.
Sure.
I'm weak. I'm on the car game.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, this about cars, blah, 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 and just
Yeah.
act like I know.
I think
No, it'd be nice for me to just be like, I don't really know, but what do you think about it? Whatever.
Yeah, why
you know?
don't you enlighten me? I think there's something about humbleness that actually in me instills a sense of trust. I can trust you. I can trust that you're not going to lie, right? I can trust that you're going to go find out an answer. I can trust that you're going to learn. I can trust that you're open-minded, right? To hearing different opinions or learning about things from different perspectives. I think that is a huge trait. I agree.
And I think also humble for me is it allows a sense of more security. Because what ends up happening, and I've seen this, people overcompensate. You can tell this, they don't have this sense of security with who they are.
I see.
And then it leads to actions that they may not want to do.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're overcompensating, overcomplicating it.
Now you
and
put yourself
being
in a
humble
situation.
would be like, I can't do that.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to put me in, and be secure enough to say that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go over there and be like, oh, I could do a handstand.
Right. Yeah, because
no, I'm gonna fall on my head and break my head.
Because then you just end up kind of looking stupid, right? And then nobody respects you, and then you've lost a bunch of trust, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree, man. That's a good one.
Sit down, be humble. All right, first study: neighborhood stress may impact kids' brains and increase depression risks. So, and this is at Birminghampton University. Children who grow up with disadvantaged neighborhoods, areas with higher levels of crime and deprivation, and lower access to community resources are the risk of developing depression, and research may help explain why. So like, that's what came out of this. And when I was reading this, I was thinking like, no shit was the first thing, right? And I think the problem we're having now is people don't feel safe. They don't feel secure. And it's about not even having enough food on the table. And I think I talked about this on a previous podcast where I was before. I would hit a clearance section. Like, I have to get this because if not, I'm never going to get it. Now I hit the clearance section. It's like, oh, I don't need this. I'm good. Just because I'm secure, I make a better decision.
You don't have the scarcity mindset.
So sometimes when people talk about financial literacy and people spending, it depends who I talk to and where they're at in life. How much income are you making? And a majority of people are not making that income where they can make good financial decisions. Yeah. Right. And to expect someone who's in a harsh financial decision to be like, I'm going to make the best decision possible. Right. How? Because you're already panicked. You're already stressed, and then we talked about that study where 1 out of 4 kids have adult with addiction, right? Made me think about that. That number is probably high, because a lot of adults are not making enough money to sustain life safely. Yeah. And securely.
Yeah, I saw this post the other day that was like, I gotta drop my kids off at daycare so I can go work 8 hours, so that I can pay for the daycare so that I can go work. they were like, this is like we're not living life, we're just running around just in a circle, spending money, and you need at least 2 incomes to make it even a little bit. They got to be relatively good jobs. You can't just work at a shoe store or something like that. You got to have a career. And it's difficult, and it makes sense that people they'd be depressed, if you're looking around and nobody's making it and everybody looks like you and isn't doing well or getting educated or getting out. Right. And so like, why wouldn't you feel a little, sad about that?
And I think that's why you got to lead with empathy when you meet people. And I think that's why we got to do it with our job every time. I understand not everybody has 2 parents. I understand not everybody has a perfect lifestyle. Even if they have money, it doesn't mean they had a good situation while growing up. Yeah, that's fair. And so you have to lead with empathy versus, oh, you have this, you should already know, blah, blah. Like, no, you got to start with there, and then you got to view life through their lens. And I think that's the hard part. Is to view people's life through lens. And people are harder on themselves than anybody else. And teaching them how not to be hard on themselves, to be their best friend. Yeah. And have that empathy for them. Show them to have empathy for themselves.
Because no one else can do for you.
The last one is the Mediterranean diet provides symptoms relief for patients with IBS in a pilot study. The low FODMAP diet was compared head to head with the Mediterranean diet. So there was about a 10% difference in the diets that helped IBS. So that's irritable bowel syndrome. And the low-fat diet is that they have things like they take out like broccoli, cauliflower, things that are high in prebiotics, right? And the reason I believe this diet did well with the low-fat FODMAP diet or whatever is because the fermented foods help give you probiotics, right?
I'm like 75% sure I have IBS. And I wonder if
it's called tacos, bro.
Yeah. I wonder if eating more fermented foods would help.
We should do it in a thing with you.
Why
like
not
try to
try?
eat like more Mediterranean style.
Yeah. Because like right now
We're doing research right here. Right?
Yeah, because right now I'm trying to think of like, I guess, fermented foods that I do eat or foods that have been like aged and stuff. And it's like yogurt. I eat a lot of Greek yogurt.
No kefir?
No, I've never had it. Or what's the other one? Skyr? I've never tried any of those.
Or like fermented fruits or vegetables.
I'll eat more kimchi. I love kimchi. Kimchi's good as hell.
And I think that's what's missing in the American diet is more like foods like sauerkraut.
You know what? And it's because I was telling you about this the other day. I was watching that like
we don't talk outside of this
food travel show, and how this guy went to all these different cultures, and I was like, so much of the food is fermented everywhere else. So much of it.
Well, think about it. It allowed them to make the food last longer.
Yeah, and survive, right? It was like a survival style. And then it just became part of, the ingrained in the culture. And it's like, yeah, in America, at least, we don't really have a lot of that. I can't think of one like quote unquote American food that is like stabilized like that and fermented and set out.
You look at Korean food, right?
Yeah.
There's
so much of it, dude.
Chinese food, there's fermented. Japanese, there's fermented.
Norwegian, right? Swedish food.
Europe,
Yep. Yeah.
I just think that's part of the reason why we're having gut issues in America.
Maybe.
Just repopulating the gut.
Mm-hmm. We're not doing any of that.
Like that.
I take that suppository, man.
Everybody's having chicken nuggets and fries.
You can't ferment that shit. It just stays good forever.
Fermented somewhere. All right, guys. If you like what we're doing, you can share, like, subscribe. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate, review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. We have free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Email strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Strength Solutions Podcast. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Until next time.